what research said you should do. So I read to the child. As I read, I will, rub my tummy, hoping that the child will hear. And I also sometimes will play the recording of Juzuk Amma and everything, so that the child will get both. Because I want the child to have a balanced view of life. I don't want the child to be just educationally good academically. I want the child to also be good Islamically. So we did that both. So we ensure that the reading environment is there. Books are everywhere. Both of us are avid readers ourselves, so that helps, because again we become role models for the kids. Because they see us reading. And from a very young age, from the moment my child was born, I would talk to my child as if they are adults. I don't do baby talk to them. I don't know Gugu Gaga. Of course, you do Gugu Gaga lah, but I basically talk to them. Everything that as I'm changing their diaper, I'm telling them what I'm doing. As I'm bathing them, I'm putting shampoo on their hair, I'll be telling them, oh, you got soap suds on your hair, it's white color and all that. My sisters and my mom were laughing and say, apa cakap dengan budak, bukan diorang faham. But the point I'm telling them is that the kids need to listen in order to be able to pick up the vocabulary. So when the kids listen, they will pick up the vocabulary. If you speak baby talk to them, they will talk. That's what they will pick up. So I decided no, because the books tell me no, you should be talking to them like adults. So I talk to them like adults. And from a very young age, they were exposed to books. Now, not books as in I was reading books to them, but what happens is that, they got all these little soft toys, not soft toys, books, but soft covered books, textured books and all that. So from very young age, I stimulate them through giving them that kind of stuff, black and white colored books to stimulate their vision, and textile stimulation to touching of all the books with different textures and all that. And I'll explain to them. So from a very young age, the concept of a book, opening the book this way, having the book in the right manner, not upside down and all that, is naturally taught to them in that manner. So much so that that reading became something which is natural to them. Opening a book becomes natural to them. That if you ask my child, and when I ask them to write a reflection, they say they can't remember when they learned how to read. All they could remember is that they could read. Because it comes so naturally. It comes so naturally the way I did it with them. It comes so naturally that it doesn't become like a structured thing. It just was part of daily living in our house. So I have a lot more to say about it.
Yeah, we'll keep for a while. Abdulaziz, you want to say something?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I really like Iskandar's take on things. She starts and he finishes. Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing because I sometimes start and I don't finish, and sometimes she starts and she don't finish. So I really like the way they work as a team. So it's something for us to learn, inshallah. I guess just to keep it short, the point about quality time, perhaps I can touch on that. It's not been touched on. To me, quality time is an excuse for us fathers, lah. Yeah. Quality time means we do not have to be there day to day, teaching them the ABCs and all that. This is not an argument. This is a discussion I have every time with my wife. It's always about who did the, whenever we are invited for this kind of forums, okay, who taught them to read and all that? I would say, oh, that must be me, because, but I can't recall teaching them how to read and all that. All I know is that one day when I came back and, I say, oh, so good, you can read, well, fantastic, well done. You congratulate them, you encourage them and all that. But I think we don't realize the amount of work that our other half does by every day teaching them, and sometimes it doesn't get in, sometimes they get tired. There is a process there, lah. But as my wife says, it's if you do it often enough, it becomes a habit. It becomes a part of your lifestyle. So it doesn't seem as if it's work. So at the end of it, the kids don't even realize they've been taught. We husbands don't realize that our wives have taught our kids to read and read well. And I suppose that comes to the point of quality time. Like quality time to me is at the end when you come back from work, you read to them and you try to put a little extra effort, extra value. You try to make the stories come alive. I'm a great believer in bedtime stories because number one, that's about the only time we get to see the kids. For those of us who work, really late, we come back, they're all, for habis and all that. So that's that very important moment before they sleep that I think every one of us, especially those of us who are working, should try to connect with the kids and sort of build that bond because I find bedtime stories are very, very important. I find that I get closer to my kids during bedtime stories to a point where each and every one of them will say, okay, read me a bedtime story. And to me, that is an achievement. Once your kid has said, read me a bedtime story, I think you've built a bond, you've established a link with them, and also a love for reading. Because it is seen as a positive activity. It's not seen as, okay, wait, I want to finish this story, I want to finish what's on TV. So if you're looking for one tip, I guess that's it. Quality time. For us fathers, bedtime stories is the place to hit it. Early in the morning, lunchtime, unless lunchtime you can go back home and do something. It's all left to our wonderful wives, who do quite a lot of sacrifice. They stop work and all that. And that is again another lifestyle thing that you have to consider for the ladies because working has its advantages, double income has its advantages, but we got to think of our future as an ummah, as a team. Some people have to raise the kids, some have to put in the work to raise them, and most of the times I think our wives are the one doing it. So thank you very much to all the ladies and those who raise the children.
Thank you, Abdulaziz. Talking about wives, we have to acknowledge the fact that actually it's the mothers that have a lot more interaction with the children. And Madam Mariam, for example, spent a lot of time with the kids without the husband because the husband was actually doing a PhD somewhere. Maybe Madam Mariam can share with us some of the things that she did. There's this idea of free and easy, how do you actually interact with the kids. I like the idea of, talking to the kids all the time, shampooing them and stuff like that. So I want Madam Mariam to help us identify some of the things that we can do at home insofar as to develop the reading culture as well as to learn, to understand things better.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I think the parents here have said a lot. What I'm sharing with you may be a bit obsolete because my eldest son now is almost 27. But when he was born, when I helped him, I still remember the day when I held him in my arms in the hospital, and I told myself, I think I can't go on working. But I did work. I did work for about, when he was 1 year and 3 months, because in those days it's quite difficult having a maid, changing maids, and I couldn't bear the thought that my son would be brought up by someone who's of a different culture, and that lady would see his first steps and his first words. So I decided, when I had a lot of babysitting problems, I told myself that I had to quit my job. Okay, but in those days, when I came back from work, I would take over the child, even to the extent of changing his nappy, of looking after him, spending some time with him. Even if I have to go out, my maid will carry my handbag and I'll carry the baby. Okay, that's how much I love my son. By the way, I have 5 children now. And along the way, after I've, when on my off days, when I am with him at home, feeding him, when he was old enough to interact with me. I would talk to him. I'll talk to him while he's eating. I will just show him the clock. I'll show him, whatever is on the wall. I do very informally. And deep down inside, I think, maybe I'm a bit of a tiger mom. I really want to see, my child doing well. So this is a start where as he grew older, I will read to him, I will do acting with him, and I will teach him alphabets, numbers, colors, and of course, one thing I must remind all parents, we are Muslims. When you teach them everything, I did make an effort to spell the word Allah and put it on the bedroom wall for him. And when I do my salah in the day, sometimes when he's a bit older, he will climb on me. He will climb. I like him to climb on me because everything is a learning process. And when I took him to tumble tots, that's after 1 year plus when I stopped working. I took him once a week because he likes to read. So after it was at special center, after coming down, we walked through special center and there was what I think there's John Nichols, and there were a lot of books. So what he would do, the first thing I did was, I wanted to buy something cheap for him. I found a 9-piece jigsaw puzzle. Okay, on that day, usually on that day, after I finish tumble tots and I do just walking around, then I'll go to my mom's house. And the evening I'll go down to the mosque at Muhajirin because my mom used to live in Papaya. And by the end of the day, I taught him how to play the jigsaw puzzle. He could do it already. So every week when we went along, I think this jigsaw puzzle helped him a little bit. But of course, everything comes from Allah. It's not, I want to sound weird that it comes from me. Everything that we teach. And the reading part, and in those days we have the storybook with cassette. I taught him how to play the cassette player and read stories. I used to sing with him. And if he were to call me, and in the other part of the kitchen, he would call me, mommy, come and see something. I just leave, I run to him. I'll just run to show him the enthusiasm that I have. And that builds up a bit. So later on, the reading and everything, and when he was almost 3 years old, we left for England because my husband did his masters, and then we moved to another town. We were in Leicester. We studied in Loughborough University, and then we went to Liverpool. That is not Liverpool actually, Birkenhead. Then we moved after that a few years later. We went in 1990. I came back in 1999, and I had another 4 more children. 3 more were born there. So it carried on. The reading part, because in England books were cheap, and I could go to the library, borrow books, continue the reading. And when I had my second one, the same thing. And later on, when we moved to Liverpool, to be near the mosque, so that my son, my eldest son, he could, we wanted him to be brought up in a Muslim environment, not a very good area, but it's safe enough. And we found the Imam, the Imam Masjid to teach him Quran, and every day when because Brother Baku is always at work, so he's busy trying to get his PhD.
Focus on the kids and not Brother Bakri. What do you do at home?
Okay, so I will have to carry on my life, and alhamdulillah, I met very, very, very good sisters, very good Muslim sisters. I think who we mix with also is very important. That helped in my life, and and my friend started a Muslim school. So actually, my Muslim, the eldest son, he went to a Christian school. Over there is all Christian school. It's either Church of England or
Catholic school.
Church England. So you have to go there, and sometimes I will speak up. I will speak to the principal. I said, can you excuse Muslim from reading singing the hymns in the morning? And the other one, Musliha, when she was 5 over there, is compulsory to go to school. She loves reading and all that because I always read to her. But I don't expect them to understand whether they can read, because I found out that Muslim, because I always teach him at home, that he actually can recognize alphabets. And one thing I forgot to tell you that by the age of 2, I taught my first son how to spell his name, through music, to singing, to doing alphabets. So I did that with every child. And one of the things that I think this is part of the learning process, because we read to them and they enjoy reading and it grows up. And just a few days ago, I was speaking to my eldest son. I say, I was talking to him about books. He said, yeah, mommy, it's good to read, because look at me. I'm at my age now. It's 26 coming to 27, and I still buy books. And my other daughter, the second one, at home, she's in university. She likes to read. Because I think from young, and when she was 5 years old in the reception class, she told me, Mommy, I want to read to the class. So I spoke to the teacher. I said, Mrs. Layton, Musliha wants to read to the class, but I think she cannot read the words, but she has done the story by her. Oh, it's okay, Mrs. Al-Bakri, that's how they learn how to read. I think, alhamdulillah, because as parents, have faith in your children, and as Muslim parents, you want your children to go far, so this is a stepping stone in the right direction. But of course, do not forget your, teaching them surahs and, salat, the important thing. Because I have my fourth son, Musa, he's now doing Sec 5 in Asia. When we used to salat, he doesn't understand, but he hears the Allah Akbar, he will just sujood with us. He will just do this thing. So I want to tell you parents that please, in the process, we want so much for our children to develop, please do not forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything cannot be done without His help.
Okay, thank you very much. Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mariam. I think there are key words there. Basically, every moment with a child should be a learning moment. Every opportunity that you have with your children should be actually a reading opportunity. And it doesn't have to be books only, it could be anything. Talking to the kid actually will inspire the kid to actually want to know more. And knowing more means opening doors to reading books, and so on and so forth. I want to spend a bit more time. I know it's 10 o'clock. Can I have about 5 minutes before we go for a short break? I want to move on to type of books, because I think that's also quite important. We don't get a sense of what, we know when they were young, there were little books that have stories in it, but our kids are not young anymore. Most of our kids are in primary school now, right? What type of books generally do we encourage them to read? That's the first question. Number 2 is, are we free and easy with books? In other words, they can just go and pick up their books, follow their passion, or there's a certain regime, certain method to what type of books at what age, how do you develop that capability and eventually become an independent and avid reader. I want to try and get a sense, because they pick up some book and eventually they move on to other genres, they look at other books. How do we actually maintain and sustain those interests? So I'll get maybe Madam Sharpman first to talk about books. What type of books do our children read, and how do we sustain that interest and move on to bigger and broader areas?
I'm not an expert though, but I'm talking from my experience. Because my both boys love to read now. And they are reading interesting books, and we are happy. It's not the book that can deviate them from the good path of Muslim. They are still there. The more important, I remember that initially it's our decision that what do we want them to be, in. Whether we want them to be in comics and all this, what we call it, Archies and all these things, we never wanted it. And for TV program, I'll come later, like Disney thing, we never allowed our children. So for reading, we were very much particular that it should be decent book, the language, the vocabulary should be important, but it should be interesting to them. We cannot impose it to them. But there are 2 parts, I can tell you. First part will be parents' guidance. Second part, to have them their own creative mind. Let them set free in the bookshop and watch them from what I used to do. I was watching them from away, from far, that what books are they are into, liking. Like they used to like these crossword puzzles the Sudoku books, the jigsaws. I noticed it. I didn't know it. I saw that they were liking those books. But in my mind, as I was a literature student, I was thinking to give them like classic books of this Jane Austen, all the big and famous writers. It was in my mind that what young Enid Blyton, Roald Dahl's, I noticed they like to read Enid Blyton, and reading Enid Blyton helps children to learn writing fluently. It is important because you have to keep in mind that PSL is there. Writing skill, writing composition naturally, freehand writing is important. How to instill it? So Enid Blyton, Roald Dahl help that, that skill. Give them that skill. On the other hand, to develop their own passion, let them be free in the bookshop, in the library. In the library is most important. Let us see what do they like. So I noticed that this is their liking, so they were borrowing and I encouraged them to borrow it. So one part is guided reading, another part is free reading. These are the two parts. So in the guided reading for young children, it's Enid Blyton, Roald Dahl. Slowly they were growing bigger. Judy Blume's, and then Charles Dickens, Stable. All these. I forgot the name now. I'm so old now. It's long story, old age. So if anybody can help me, the Treasure Island, all the classics. And if you go there, these books I gave them. It was in the house, and on the other hand, free reading. Yeah, this is
I was just waiting for you to say Shakespeare and Keats.
No, but my children love Shakespeare now, Keats, and all the serious writers. What is he writing? The Dr. Zhivago, and all these serious things they are reading. Of the philosophy they is reading now. But I'm surprised because I used to borrow the books, and the books were in the house. Because both of us, I like philosophy and literature, and all the poetry, poets are there, modern poets. They are now teaching me. Now I'm a student in the house. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shapner. Maybe Madam Ariati and Mr. Iskandar would like to share how do they develop the reading of, the learning of, or the choice of the books for the kids.
I remember that whenever I go to the library, I didn't have a choice. Okay, let's say you're going to be 4 books, okay, 2 books you choose, 2 books I choose. So I didn't have a choice. So that way I know that at least their interest is, you cater to their interest. So whatever it is, so they will just, okay. Then for essays, let's say about puzzles, I introduce them to puzzles also, to numbers, to stimulate their mind, all those stuff we need. If I see that the books, those books that Sister Lineup was saying that soft copies books are sometimes quite expensive. So I had many children, so I think there's only one breadwinner here. So what I do is that if I see books which I think I can make myself, I do it myself. So I make homemade books which I color them, I talk to them. So that helps in the economy a bit.
That's how she helped because she's pretty good in sketching. I was pretty envious of her sketching back then. Okay. For my part, as the kids grew a bit older, they were about 4 or 5 years. I went a bit further into e-books. E-books in the form of multimedia books, form of interactive puzzles. I had to look for books, knowledge and adventure. Went off to Johor to buy some friends. But the important thing, as a parents, want to venture into using computers to have the children exposed to these books. You have to be there because playing with them together, reading the book, reading the books together with them, getting them excited, you being a kid yourself also at the same time, solving the puzzles together. That's when it becomes meaningful. Otherwise, you would just leave your children with the books themselves, and then they wouldn't know what values you want them to learn. I remember when I was young, I was very much interested in animal world. I would try very, very hard to find such books for them also. Scientific books, but not scientific, science. It's more into documentary kind of science. That's where I also expose them to this type of culture, so that they could choose a bit more than just reading books that.
Just on that point, there is actually research to show that if you want to turn reluctant readers to become avid readers, you start with what we call high-low books. High interest, low frequency or low vocabulary, or low text books. And sometimes we also need to understand the pace of our children and what is the interest. I applaud the fact that for Madam Mariati, she chose sort of 2+2 kind of formula. You choose 2, I choose 2. But there are research to show that if you know where your children's reading pace is, you could actually choose the books for them so that you can build upon what they've done in the past and build their interest further. I want to ask Madam Zaina on her thoughts about books. And here we're not just talking about books in school, but also books that pertains to the development as a good Muslim. In other words, other than novels, for example, which is also important, how do we ensure that the spread is wide enough so that they actually become quite a holistic person, rather than just purely focusing on comics on one hand or novels on the other?
Okay. When the kids are very young, and I was just trying to get their interest and trying to develop their listening ability so that they can read and they can intone well. What I do is I do a lot of nursery rhymes with them. And some of the nursery rhymes actually don't make sense, Rockabye Baby, Cradle and all that. Who wants to fall on the floor? I mean, if I were a baby, I'd be very afraid if I hear that, Rockabye Baby on a treetop, when wind blows, cradle will fall and all that. If I were a baby, I'd be very afraid. But, it's catchy, it's got a nice tune, it's easy for the kids to pronounce and all that. So I do a lot of nursery rhymes for them because it catches their attention, So we get nursery rhyme books, and I do it from a very young age to the point where they actually memorize a lot of it by themselves, and then they will start to open up the books and pretend as if they are actually reading it. When they actually can't read because they are actually just using their memory. And the kind of books that I expose my kids to at a very young age are also books which has got a few words, but it rhymes. Like for example, but it has values. I try to choose books which has values. For example, there's this one particular book which I remember it now. It's about a wizard's cat. So it goes something like, hello cat, a wizard talking to the cat. Hello cat, and the cat will say, oh, I wish I'm not a cat. I'm tired of that. And the wizard will ask, who would you like to be? And the cat says, someone better than me. And the wizard changes the cat to, all sorts of things, a bumblebee, this, that, and everything the cat doesn't like. And at the end of the story, it says, okay, split splat, be a wizard's cat. And the cat says, yeah, I like that. So there is a moral to that story. It's nice, it's short little phrase, it's catchy, but at the end of the day, the moral story is be happy with what you are. Don't try to be what you are not, So from a very young age, the kind of books that I try to get for my kids are books which are, rhyme, catchy, fun, but also value-laden. Of course, not everything I can get books which are value-laden. Some of it is just simply entertaining for the kids. So as it progresses, as they are able to start reading, then we move on to, of course, we have the reader series to teach them how to read. But once they're able to read, then we expand the genre. Instead of just normal books, then we start having a little bit of factual books. Just factual books are sometimes very boring, so I don't start at a very early age. But once they are, going into nursery and all that, which I think they are, okay, my first 2 kids, I make sure that they are able to read by the time they hit nursery. When they are in nursery, they are already able to read. Because I have plenty of time, I quit work, stay home mom. But my 3rd child is not, unfortunately, because I was busy and I keep getting pregnant. I have 6, by the way. So I was not able to. He kept getting me pregnant. So I was not able to spend as much time or devote as much time to